So I apologize for the chaos. I was just a little bit concerned about being left behind. But we have our next series, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Amphion, we have our French Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Liquid. It is Clem. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Streamer Zone. It is NightMare. Here, Kura. Let them know. 0-0. Okay. So, the reason why we're jumping into NightMare versus Clem is because, do you know who's waiting for the winner of the series? Shin. I mean, we just casted him. We just casted Shin, take down Creator 2-0, so we're trying to focus on this portion of the bracket here. Who faces off against him? Either NightMare or Clem. One or the other. Let's go. Double gas opener out of Clem. Is going for a faster factory, a delayed CC from the Red Terran. Meanwhile, NightMare back across the map, walling off of the Reaper Cliff. Does wall off the Reaper Cliff, going for a gate expand. Standard opener out of NightMare. And we'll see if NightMare can put a stop to the reign of terror that is Clem. Clem coming in as the heavy favorite, is the world champion, is the best player in the world, currently at least. And again, really, a lot of these online tournaments, whenever Clem shows up, it's the question becomes, can anyone stop Clem? Anyone stop him? Also, before I forget, predictions. Predictions are now open. Place your bets in the chat for who you think will take the series. Again, Clem is going to be the favorite player for anyone he plays against. True. But NightMare has defeated Clem in the past. I say that was also the games that NightMare has defeated Clem were pre-EWC. That was an earlier form of Clem before he reached his final form. We'll see if we can do it again. See if NightMare can do it again. For now, it is going to be, again, that faster factory out of Clem. Reaper moves out across the map. What players are in the brackets? As someone did post, !B if you want to have a look at the bracket yourselves. If you want to have a look on Wikipedia or on Challenge, links are available. As Clem does rotate into the natural. Oh, getting a probe. Oh, not quite. Probe does survive. And behind this, NightMare is taking up into a Twilight Council, into Blink. Now, Clem has yet to confirm. Clem's scout was denied, didn't get into the main, didn't confirm in the natural either. NightMare does attempt to chase the Reaper down, unable to though. Reaper does escape. And we can see Clem settling into his 1-1-1. Interesting. Doesn't go for the add-on swap, keeping the reactor on the racks. Is going for an early drop instead. Okay, he's massing on Marines, Cyclones, Medevac is on the way. Now, the Cyclone production makes sense. Basically, Clem is getting ready for Oracle defense, or even Phoenix defense. Clem did not see enough to really confirm what's going on, so he's playing as safely as possible to cover his bases. Cyclones have their place in the early game of TvP. They're pretty solid units early on. They can shut down early game Adept Harass, and Air Harass as well. Here comes that drop. Clem boosting across the map. NightMare getting up to 3 gates. So 3-gate blink, very safe play out of NightMare. Reapers at the natural, drop towards the main. Reaper in the natural as well. And there we go, Clem does scout, Clem does confirm. Gets eyes on the Twilight Council. My shot goes off, takes out a Stalker. Good pickup. And the rest of the Stalkers, they're softened up, and oh, this is becoming far too much. 2 Stalkers go down, the 3rd Stalker under threat. No shield battery! No shield battery, no overcharge, and Clem! He's doing so much with so little, the boys have to be pulled. Probes are going down. Oh, no probes yet, though. NightMare, he does maintain his economy. Drop into the main. Oof. 3 probe kills, 4 probes, 5 probes even. Far too much damage this early on as the Cyclone dives back in. More economic damage, pulling NightMare apart. This one drop here in between the bases, it just popped off. It allowed for everything to happen. 9 workers, aye. And with that, Clem takes a worker lead. Behind this, getting into his 3-1-1 setup. 3 Vaxes, 1 factory, 1 starport. Marines, tanks. NightMare does at least keep up with the Liberator. does zone it away. But just a really rough start for the Protoss. And NightMare has some recovering to do. Now, NightMare is behind, but he's not out of this yet, and sniping the Liberator is a good start. The Liberator, I believe, got 0 kills. So not a bad pick-off here by NightMare. Getting his third. He has map control, of course, as well. Oof. Gets a Marine. And is taking into, I imagine, Colossus. Now, if he's crazy, he could try to go Disruptor first, but this should be Colossus production from NightMare into charge. But Clem is in the driver's seat. He's in the driver's seat. He's going to be stuck at home for now, waiting for his upgrades. Once Stim is done, Clem can break out. And Stim has begun. Stim has begun for Clem. More gates on the way. There we go. Colossus first out of NightMare. He's going for the Colossus. NightMare rotating. I mean, he has blink, so he can try to blink past the army or even threaten the natural. Does blink over. With this, if Clem were to go for any kind of medevac harass or Raven harass, NightMare's in position. Speaking of, you can see NightMare trying to catch out that medevac. Hoping to, at least. Meanwhile, getting his third. First Colossus has arrived. And Clem actually going to be reinforcing his drop. Moving out with 2 more medevacs. He's hunting down the Observer. Doesn't quite catch it. Observer to survive, third CC's finishing up. Clem is now moving out. As he moves out, so does NightMare. Spots the army. And again, NightMare, he has to slow down this army, force a siege. Getting in position. Clem moving in. So I'll say dive in, Raven survives, gets the auto turrets, tank siege up. Clem, can he break through this? He does break through the sentries at least. Yeah, massive tank blows going off. The Colossus do live. At the same time, drop comes in. And nothing in position. Only 4 Marines, so not that much damage. Forces a recall. Oh my god. The main army recalls back home. But at least Clem was stopped. Again, I mean, this could have been game if Clem got across the map with his army and was able to siege up within range of the third. But he was slowed down. NightMare, he's holding on. Dark Shrine is on the way behind this. Clem pulling back, not feeling as confident. Respecting the War Prism. And does pull away. NightMare just expanding, getting a 4th. Trying to maintain himself. Clem will scout the 4th expansion. Still has that 1 medevac. And we're going to be calming things down. Okay. Okay, things were intense for a moment there. With NightMare forcing the fight in the center. But Clem backs up, getting his 3rd saturated. 4 CCs on the way. Ghost production on the horizon as well. And this is where we need a NightMare to start to diversify splash damage. Colossus is good, but what's better? Colossus and Disruptor. Disruptors are on the way. DT harass headed towards the 3rd. Through the turrets though, yeah, 2 DTs go down. Brutal start for NightMare. 1 Dark Templar gets into the middle line, and some SCVs going down. Not bad. 5 SCVs, 6 SCVs. Does make up for the otherwise lost Dark Templar. Server slips in. Gets eyes on the Ghost production. NightMare is aware. He's not gotten into any High Templar or Storm. It's still very Robo-oriented. Very much so. Observer gets spotted. And again, because of the earlier advantages, Clem, he still has a supply lead. He's up in army supply, up in workers, now taking a fourth. NightMare hasn't stabilized yet, as Clem is maxed. He's already maxed out. And NightMare, he needs to do something to actually drag Clem back home. That's what the DTs are for. Oh, does avoid the EMP. Clem, he refuses to scan. I don't know if you noticed, he didn't scan earlier either. We have a Zealot run by towards the left, DT towards the right. I believe the War Prism is still active. Yep, War Prism is still active outside of the third. So NightMare, he's setting up to harass. Pushing through the center. In a head-on fight, I do favor Clem, at least currently. NightMare's just trying to buy time. Zealots to get caught out. War Prism into the main. Going for a Zealot Warp in. And here comes the main army. Clem, he does pull back in time. And the Zealots, they aren't really getting much done here. They do get into the mineral line, but Clem, he pulls away. Doesn't lose many SCVs. The main army not really gaining much ground either. Yeah, 4 SCV kills. That's not much. Getting a couple more. NightMare still not pushing forward. As Zealots are cleaned up, NightMare now pushing towards the fourth base, getting a free tank. Not bad. One tank goes down, second tank goes down. Nova goes off. Raises the army. Takes down the turret. And no major losses from Clem. Clem, he holds, NightMare backs off. And NightMare, he's closing that gap in supply. But still on the knife's edge. Army pushing forward, Nova goes up. Ooh, takes down a couple of Marauders. There's that 5 Marauders going down, not bad. Gets into the Marauder. Oh, but the Disruptors, no! Yeah, they move too far forward. Disruptors, they get targeted down one after the other. Every Disruptor falls. And Clem, he can take the fight. Takes down the Colossus, no more splash damage. Zealots, they come in from behind. Yeah, the surround of Zealots, they take down the Ghost. They take down the main army. NightMare, keep going. Send it. On the one hand, Clem, he got every single Disruptor. On the other hand, it's a Gateway army. It's mass Zealot Stalker. NightMare going for a massive counterattack. He defends back at home, cleans up the Ghosts. Going for the Planetary. Can he get it? He can. Planetary is going to go down the mineral line as well. And Clem doesn't have really much to work with. He's got one Ghost. Speaking of, Ghost goes down. Nice split there out of NightMare. He avoids the splash damage. 15 SCV kills. But there are too many reinforcements. NightMare, he has to back off. He's waiting for reinforcements himself. Disruptors are on the way. Clem holds. It cost him a base, but Clem does hold for now. NightMare, he's not done. He wants to keep going. Pushing in for a second round. Pushing in once again. Remember, no Ghosts, no EMPs. But likewise, no Colossus either. Here comes the Nova. Massive connection! Oh my god. Clem takes one to the face. He's hurting. DTs, they hit the new fourth. The Disruptors do overextend. Oh, NightMare does connect though. Massive connections. GG gets called. NightMare, he catches Clem off guard and he will take game number 1. Whew. GG. Oh my god. Very intense game here out of NightMare. Again, he had a very shaky start to the game, but he was able to force some fights out on the map. If you remember, Clem, he never got his main army across the map into the bases of NightMare. He never got across the map. NightMare, he was always, either keeping Clem back at home with run buys, DT counterattacks, zealot counterattacks, or just keeping vision on the map to try to engage ahead of time to make sure that Clem didn't get situated the way that he really wanted to. Likewise, there were some missteps out of NightMare when he lost all of his disruptors, for example, but he was also able to get a full surround, and he relied on a mass zealot army instead, got a full surround, cleaned up the ghost, and snowballed from there. It was very committed play out of NightMare. What I will say is if NightMare, if he was more passive, if he stayed back at home, if he backed off, then Clem would have snowballed out of control. Clem would have taken a lead. NightMare, he had to go then and there. GG. GG, well played. NightMare takes the lead. Whew. Now we're getting ready for game number 2. Glad you picked this one. Yeah, of course. We know, Papi. We know what to cast. GG, well played. Meanwhile, we have an update. It looks like Björn did take down Estrella 2-1, and Björn is about to begin versus MaxPax. But of course, we have our series. We have our own series. We have our own best of 3. And the question becomes... do we force an ace match, or does NightMare take the series? That is the question as we're getting into Alkione. Oh boy. Again, I'm hoping for an ace match. I'm hoping we can go all the way to game 3. Looks like Wardi is covering Björn versus MaxPax. Again, we have our own TvP. But after this series, we'll most likely be joining up with Wardi. For those that are curious, the way that this tournament works is both semifinals are casted. Because both semis are casted, I mean, we can't start one without the other. So we all meet up towards the end. Or the casters, I mean. But here we go. Spawning in the top right-hand corner of Alkione, we have the French Terran player, the Red Terran, representing Team Liquid. Again, the favorite player, the best player in the world, but down in the series. Can he bounce back and force the ace match? It is Clem. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing Streamer Zone. It is NightMare. No way Clem loses this, right? I mean, Clem is the favorite player, 100%. Like, he's meant to win this series, but NightMare has defeated Clem in the past. Again, I do think that NightMare is very underrated, especially if people don't watch online tournaments, then they're not fully aware of how good NightMare is. I've spoken about this before. NightMare, his worst matchup is PvZ. That's where NightMare struggles the most. We've seen him struggle quite a lot against the other Korean Zerg players, but against Protoss and Terran, we've seen NightMare bring them all down. We've seen NightMare defeat Clem before, Björn. We've seen him take down a hero, take down Zaun, take down Classic. Again, like the other two matchups, PvP and PvT, are where NightMare really thrives. That's where he thrives the most. It's just because NightMare isn't fully like well-rounded, because like one of his matchups is worse than the others. Like, he can have a harder time performing in these like bigger events where you do have to rely on, you know, the entirety of all your matchups. Why he has struggled in the past. A fun fact though, NightMare, he actually, I think it was like 3 days ago, NightMare qualified for Home Story Cup over Gumiho. He defeated Gumiho in the qualifying match. NightMare is going to Home Story Cup, what is it, like next month? I guess another fun fact, the two players that qualified for Home Story Cup are Clem and NightMare. These two players here, they both qualified. The only two. And as you can imagine, I don't think there was any Zerg in the bracket for NightMare, just Protoss and Terran. For now, though, we do see Clem scouting. He is scouting, checking for a proxy, making sure that there's no shenanigans going on, checking the right-hand side as well. So Clem a little bit paranoid here. Don't blame him. Meanwhile, Clem, this time, once again, double gas opener. Clem is going for a delayed CC, faster factory. Is going Reaper Hellion, this time investing a little bit harder into Reapers and Hellions as well. As a reminder, last game, Clem opened up Reaper into Reactor into a Marine drop, and he did a lot of damage. If you recall, he did a lot of damage with his initial Marine drop, but now he's switching it up. Going Reaper Hellion instead. This also has potential. The Adept does confirm at least additional Reaper production. And ideally, Clem wants to threaten the mineral line. Another Reaper gets scouted. Adept shades in, gets eyes on the follow-up Hellion. And NightMare gets a full scout of the main base, is fully aware of what's going on, and back at home he has to set up, he has to defend. Ooh, as the first Adept is going to go down. Stalker's warping in. Unfortunately, NightMare is not set up to wall off the natural. Because of his SimCity, the pylon is set up to wall off the Reaper cliff. So Hellions can actually try to run past the main army. Reapers as well. First Hellion goes down. Massive pickup. Just one Hellion left. And it looks like NightMare he holds. NightMare, he does hold these zones Clem away. And now we can calm things down. We can calm things down. We do see NightMare getting to additional gateways. It's going to be Blink. Ooh, as NightMare moves out, Clem, he does bypass the main army. He's going for the mineral line. NightMare out of position. Uh-oh. He's out of position. Clem rushes into the natural. Going for the Stalkers. Meanwhile, NightMare... The mines! Oh my god! Takes him to the face. 2 Stalkers go down. Brutal losses. And Clem, he takes down both Stalkers across the map. No shield battery. Probes are going down as well. And this is getting out of control. This is getting out of hand. Sure, Clem is losing some workers as well, but this pales in comparison to what's happening across the map. 5 probe kills. Ay, ay, ay. And Clem isn't done. He gets into the main, getting even more economic damage. 6. 7 probe kills. 8 probe kills even. Can he get 9? He can. 9 probes go down. And Clem, he got more than what he wanted. 9 kills, he defends back at home. Did lose 3 SCVs, so at least NightMare got some kind of counter damage. And what I should emphasize as well, if you remember, was that last game with the Marine drop where Clem also got around, what, 10 probe kills? So Clem also had a really strong start in game 1, but NightMare, he stabilized. Eventually he was able to stabilize, he was able to build back up and hold his own. But once again, just like last game, the pressure is on NightMare. Pressure's on NightMare to bounce back. If you remember last game, even though Clem was the first to max out, he actually couldn't move out across the map because of all the Zealot run-bys and DT counterattacks and just all the aggression from NightMare. It was just buying time. Speaking of, Prism towards the main, NightMare also looking to pick off some workers and buy time as well. Meanwhile, there's a tank in the main, there's a tank in the natural. Clem is set up very nicely defensively. The Stalkers, they don't get much. NightMare gets a Marine. It's something. Gets a Marine, potentially a depot as well. He gets some value. Meanwhile, across the map, Autochar gets 3 probe kills. Ay, ay, ay. 3 probes go down for, what, 3 Marines and a depot. Better trade for Clem. NightMare still trying to be active, keeping up with the Raven. Third base is on the way. Colossus production has begun, getting into charge. But Clem is actually being a lot more aggressive this time. I mean, he knows he's ahead. And it looks like Clem, after what happened in game 1, he's like, I'm not going to give you time to build up. I'm not going to give you time to stabilize. I'm not going to end the game here and now. Clem is moving out with Stim. Stim is done in a couple of seconds. By the time the army gets across the map, it will be finished. And NightMare, he's in trouble. Again, he has to slow this down, force a siege, but he's not going to be able to. Then pushing in, sieges up outside of the 3rd. 2nd tank has arrived as well. And NightMare, he's up against the wall. First Colossus has arrived. Does dive in. All the Stalkers that get punished, though. A lot of Stalkers going down. That was a rough trade for NightMare. Shield battery is done. Does have an overcharge as well. And there's the overcharge. Charge does complete, and NightMare, he has to go for the dive. And it's not going to be pretty. He gets 1 tank. First tank goes down. Nice juggling here at a NightMare. He's holding. Yeah, he gets a 2nd tank as well. Both tanks go down. Nice blink. Ooh, doesn't get the medevacs. It just barely doesn't. Medevacs to escape, but NightMare holds. A very clutch hold out of NightMare. He defends, he deflects Clem. Clem racing back home. NightMare counterattacking. I mean, I don't think he can really break Clem, but I don't blame him. Like, there's a lot of pressure right now on NightMare. NightMare is still behind. Clem, he's saturating his third. He's up, what, 10 SCVs plus mules. So typically in TvP, for a Protoss player to be even with the Terran, we want to be up a base. Protoss wants to be up an expansion. That's just not happening here. Clem still far ahead, gets 4 more probe kills. Didn't kill NightMare, but it was still a better trade for Clem. Still something he could afford. Maybe I should say that. Chopper's ready to go into the main. NightMare going for a Zealot Harass. Dark Shrine is on the way as well. I mean, we saw the DTs that were okay for NightMare last game. He got 6 SCV kills, if you recall. I'm sure NightMare's hoping for something similar. Zealots say hit the natural. Getting a couple of SCVs. Oof. There are Vikings as well. 3 SCV kills, but the Prism is under fire. Yeah, the Prism's going to go down. Oof. Brutal loss for NightMare. Prism does fall. Clem gets eyes on the 4th. And will force a cancel. Again, this is the one medevac that survived earlier. Barely an army. Handful of Marines and Marauders, but they force a cancel. Massive pickup. And here comes Clem once again. And you can see that Clem, he's got a very different tempo than game 1. He's just constantly moving out. Constantly trying to be active. Doesn't want to give NightMare any room to breathe. NightMare still no 4th expansion. Building up disruptors. Now, there is still a chance for NightMare, even though he's down 40 supply, which is brutal. A couple of good Nothas, and NightMare can still take a fight and take the game. But it comes down to the disruptors. Comes down to the control. So the control of NightMare and the miscontrol of Clem. Meanwhile, DT is waddling in. There are already turrets. DTs, they shouldn't get much damage. Yeah, they get 3 SCVs and not much more than that. Yeah, turrets even within range of the wall, of the ramp. Novas go up, they don't connect. There's 1 Nova left. And Clem, he sims in. Gets 1 disruptor. Another Nova goes off, just buying time, but no connections. And this time Clem, he's snowballing out of control. He's looking to break that 3rd base. Zealot run by, gets cleaned up. Clem, he has plenty at home to defend. Leaves reinforcements. Another Nova goes off, but I had no connection. Just a little bit too far back. We do see NightMare picking up a couple of ghosts. Not bad. Does get a ghost or 2. Once again, NightMare trying to pick up whatever he can. Blinking away, very nice control. Still another Nova in the chamber. Nova goes off. No big connection. That's all NightMare had. Just 2 Novas. The ghosts are exposed though. Ghosts are going down. There's 1 ghost left. That was what, like 4 or 5 ghosts going down. Okay, there's 1 ghost remaining. Disruptor's buying time. And even though that was a better trade for NightMare, I mean, Clem still has an economy, right? He's still up in workers. He's up 20 SCVs plus mules. Clem can afford these losses. He can even afford taking it over to the face, as Clem is also, he's almost maxed out. Almost maxed out. Bans out his Marines. He gets eyes on the 4th. Meanwhile, NightMare getting him to 4 disruptors. Again, the ghost count was mainly reset, so Clem has to wait for reinforcements. More ghosts on the way. There was potential. Medivacs are kept safe. Clem with a double drop, going for the 4th. Main army distracting at the 3rd. And Clem has to kite back. Nice EMPs. Ooh, does blanket all the stalkers. One Colossus goes down, one Colossus left. At the same time, double drop hits the 4th base, and NightMare just doesn't have the supply. He can't defend both locations at once. Mineral line goes down, dropping into the main. And NightMare, he's out of position. Oof, brutal EMP. Nova does catch 2 of the ghosts though. Not bad. Novas are popping up. Then Gray's the army getting another ghost. Meanwhile, dropping the main base. Likewise, Nova out of control as well. And NightMare just doesn't have enough to chase. Oh, the juggling! The micro! Clem microing his heart out. It will be cleaned up, but getting the most out of whatever he can. The most out of that drop. And again, it's impressive that NightMare's been able to survive this long. But again, he's treading water, basically. NightMare's treading water. He's barely keeping up. Barely surviving. Another brutal EMP. The flanking Novas. Oh, do they connect? Some of them do, but this was not quite worth it. The disruptors are going down. NightMare, he has to go for the dive. He has to commit. Liberation has arrived. And I don't think there are enough zealots. Yeah, NightMare, he bleeds out the zealots, bleeds out stalkers. If he had another wave, then maybe. Oh no, the disruptors. Getting caught out. And this looks to be the final army of NightMare. Looking at the zealots, once again, more stalkers go down. And NightMare's got half the supply of Clem. Again, he fought his heart out, but just never really got his economy underway. Was unable to keep up with the Terran, with Clem. And this time, a much more aggressive approach from Clem as well, compared to the last game. Just not giving NightMare any room to breathe. He sims, he wins, GG gets called, and we are going to the ace match. GG. Going all the way to game 3. Whew. And we'll see how this story ends. What map are we going to be loading into? But again, I think what's important here is that it does feel like after game 1, Clem, he is taking a different approach here. He is being much more aggressive, much more in the face of NightMare. Looks like he now recognizes the threat of NightMare. He's like, no, I'm not going to give him room. I'm not going to allow him to expand. Not going to allow him to actually get into a solid economy. Not this time. And we'll see how NightMare adjusts to Clem's play. How does he adjust? As we're loading into Ghost River for game 3. Oh boy. Ghost River, a very small map, very short rush distance by ground. This could be a bit of a shorter game. We'll see. As we do have some other updates, as we mentioned before, I mean, Shin has been patiently waiting the entire time in the semifinals. Hero takes down Cure 2-0, and Hero is waiting in the lower semifinals for the winner of Max Pax and Beyond. So we have 2 matches remaining. We have, 2 matches still ongoing, I should say. This series that goes to the ace match, and also Max Pax versus Beyond as well. Here we go. We have made it to game 3, and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ghost River, we have the French Terran player, the Red Terran representing Team Liquid, bringing us all the way to game 3. It is Clem. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss, the Blue Protoss player representing Streamer Zone, being forced into the ace match. Can he bring it back? It is NightMare. We go. Again, Ghost River, very small map. it's one of two things here. We get both extremes where the rush distance by ground is very short. Because of that, whether it comes to just regular aggressive builds or even punishing failed aggression can just very quickly swing one way or the other on a map as small as Ghost River. On top of that, if we can get into a 3-base economy, if we can stabilize and get into a longer game, then it can be more difficult to kind of end the game just because of all these choke points. There's a lot of choke points here, a lot of ramps towards the center of the map. So you can actually slow the game down, cut the map in half, and get into and enter a longer game state. We'll see which one we go for. We shall see. As for now, once again, double gas. Every game so far in this series has been double gas out of Clem. Faster Factory. We saw in Game 1, this led into a Marine drop. In Game 2, it led into Reaper Hellion Harass. And here in Game 3, what's it going to be? Could be a Mine drop, could be Fast Tank Banshee. Could be Reaper Hellion again, it could be a Cyclone drop. We'll see. For now, the probe is trapped, so if NightMare wants to escape, he's going to have to recall. Speaking of, yep, does go for the recall. So NightMare, he does at least save the probe. Does get the hell out of there. Meanwhile, this time, we do see Clem going Reaper into Reactor. Not going for the immediate second Reaper, unlike last game. Heading into the natural. Back at home, going into Cyclone production, not Hellion. Okay, have our attention. Cyclone's on the way. We can see Clem trying to test the control here of NightMare. Threatening the mineral line. Diving into the main. NightMare once again opening up Twilight Council into Blink. Clem is looking for another way in. So far, NightMare is keeping up. Back at home, Clem, he does go for the Reactor and Marine production into Cyclone, Widowmine, into Medevac. This is the same opener as Game 1. Okay. This does look like the same opener, going for a Marine drop early on. I mean, Clem had a very strong start in Game 1. That was on Amphion, if you recall. So I'm not opposed to Clem going for something similar here in Game 3. As there is a Medevac. Now, we saw how quickly this can snowball out of control. If Clem can get the Widowmine shot off on one of the Stalkers, if he can get some splash damage as well, then this army can snowball out of control. It can break through the defensive line and then get into a mineral line as well. NightMare is in the dark. Shading across the map. This time there is a shield battery at the natural. If you remember in Game 1, there was no shield battery, which is why Clem did so much damage. I mean, there was no defensive setup. Likewise, shield battery in the main base as well. So I do appreciate that NightMare is being a lot more defensive this time. I mean, I say that, he shades across the map, which is concerning. There's nothing at home. There's nothing at home to defend. I mean, there's shield batteries, but not much else. And the shield battery is under fire. NightMare out of position. The shield battery goes down. There's no overcharge. Mine shot zones away the Stalkers. No. And the boys, they have to be pulled. The mines! Widowmine shot is going to go off. Massive connection. 11 probes go down, and that is game-ending damage. Oh my god. I was praising NightMare. I was like, yo, he's getting shield batteries. He's going to have the overcharge. He has extra units. He's going to be okay. And then he shaded across the map. Then he moved out. At F-Stage, do nothing. 17 probe kills. And that's just far too much. That's just far too much damage here. Getting up to 18 probes. Ay, ay, ay. Not like this. You know, in my mind, I thought it was going to shade up the ramp just to scout and cancel the shade and then just go back home once he saw the army. But he missed the army. 20 probe kills at Epstein. Do shading to the main though. SCVs are going down, but we need to do an equivalent amount of damage, and that just should not happen. Not with 3 adepts. Not with 2 of them almost gone at this point. And the Viking lands, the adepts are being cleaned up. 7 SCV kills. I mean, that's good, but not good enough. Not good enough considering how much damage NightMare just sustained. Ay, ay, ay. Well, went behind. You know what time it is. It's time to Dark Shrine. Dark Shrine has been thrown down. I mean, a very necessary move here by NightMare. He has a lot of catching up to do. NightMare has been reprobing, but again, all these workers should be invested into a third. We should have a third base on the way, but there is no third, not yet. Because of how much damage NightMare's been sustaining. Meanwhile, he's moving out. He throws down an extra gateway. He's pretty committed. He's pretty all in at this point. Going up to 4 gates. Clem, he's so well set up here. He's got a bunker. He's got 3 tanks spread out between the bases. No bunker in the main, but may not need it. And you can see NightMare, he just cannot touch this army, or he cannot touch this base. Cannot move in. I mean, the Dark Shrine is done, but there's a Raven. I mean, like, what can we do? There's a Raven back. A 4th tank has arrived. He wants it. Up. He won't get it. Oh, the Prism overextends. Prism goes down. Stalkers go down. And Clem, he defends. He shuts down the army. Shuts down the aggression. Remember, there is no third. And NightMare's all in. He's completely all in at this point. There's no way to macro out of this. He's rallying his Zelts across the map. Charge about to finish. Remember, he's got 4 gates. He can warp in 4 Zelts at a time. His goal is to break the natural, but Clem is setting up Depot, Turret, SimCity. Just creating a choke point and not allowing Zelts to really engage here. Not more bunkers. Clem just securing himself, throwing, just fully walling up. Why not? Yeah, turret's done. GG gets called. There is no final fight, and Clem will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the semi-finals. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to Clem as he advances on. A shout out to NightMare for forcing the ace match and for, I mean, creating this series as well. You know, you don't get a good series with only 1 player, you get it with 2. And NightMare, he was able to hold his own, even in game 2 when things were looking dire. NightMare, he had his own moments. Here in game 3 as well, I'm not opposed to the build of NightMare. I'm not opposed to his setup. Unfortunately, if you remember, he shaded across the map with his 3 adepts, and I guess more importantly than that, he missed the army. He did not scout that Clem was moving out. He did not spot the main army in the center of the map. NightMare missed it, so he committed to the shade, and that meant that he was so vulnerable back at home, and he lost everything. He lost 20 probes, he lost stalkers, he lost adepts, lost everything. Lost the game. GG. GG, well played. The game ended then and there with the opener of Clem. And with that, Clem will advance on, and we need to set things up here for our next series. Because we have some updates coming in, I think.